You're tuned in to Track Talk on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right.
America's largest all-sports radio station presents the #1 motorsports show in the Midwest for over a decade. Track Talk, brought to you by McCarthy Chevrolet. Here are the Racing Boys, Scott Traylor and Kirk Elliott.
Good morning, race fans. Welcome to Track Talk on Sports Radio 810 WHB and Racing Boys Radio. Each and every edition of Track Talk is brought to you by McCarthy Chevrolet. Check them out at kccars.com. Great deals on new and used Chevrolets right now. It's just on the website, checking out some of their featured vehicles. Go to McCarthyChevrolet.com and look at some of the deals that got on great cars like Camaros, the Cruze, certified used cars, new cars. All cars need to be purchased at McCarthy Chevrolet. Again, out on Rawhide Road, just off of I-35 in Santa Fe. Kirk, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great, getting ready for Christmas. Can you believe it? I've already got my Christmas shopping done, which is that's just unheard of in my life. I'm a last-minute shopper from way back, but I got it all done last night.
Hold on a second, Kirk.
All done.
All done. How many presents do you buy in 1 year?
Not as many as I used
hold on,
to.
better yet, how many people do you buy for?
About a half a dozen.
Do we ever
mostly
have
kids.
we ever exchanged gifts in 12 years? Have we?
We just say Merry Christmas to each other.
Merry Christmas.
Leave it at that.
Merry Christmas, old Kirk Elliott. What does one present mean more? I mean, obviously you have a great family. We know all your family members. I do anyway. But who is the person that you find the most difficult to buy for?
No one now. And that may be a cop-out answer, but we have what's called a kind of a grab bag type of situation. So you go out and buy a general gift now that's so much easier to buy than it would be if you got somebody specific in mind that we used to. And for several years now, we've had a situation where we've you just bring a gift, and it's general to anybody, and then you swap it around and on Christmas Day, and you open up the gift, and if you want to trade it with somebody else, you could do that.
Yeah.
And makes it a lot more fun and a lot more easy to buy.
I think the key there is being easier.
Yeah.
Right? That's kind of a do you buy gift cards, Kurt?
Sometimes. Not all. Kids, you like to buy them the gifts, so you watch them unwrap them.
Let me ask Jed and Todd, is it a cop-out when you buy gift cards is what I want to know. Jed? Jed must step away. Todd?
No, I buy gift cards for my sister and my mom because I don't know what to buy, females.
Jed, let me ask you this, though. But when you buy, because I'm needing some etiquette here when it comes to buying gift cards and presents. I've been doing it a while, but I always feel kind of guilty when I buy gift cards. So I catch myself, and I don't know if you guys do this or not, but I always catch myself spending more on a gift card than I would if I would have bought a present. How about you, Jed?
No, that's why you buy the gift card, and you have to spend more because you don't know what to get them, so you have to get them more, money for them to, buy something they actually want.
Because if you buy somebody a $25 gift card, you look like you're kind of cheaping out on them a little bit. But if you buy them a $75 or a $100 gift card, it looks like, man, I can buy a lot with this. Agree?
Agreed wholeheartedly, because I buy normally like $30, $40 gifts, but whenever I buy a gift card, I'm like, I'm going to get like $60, $70 on there.
And it's worth it because it might cost you $20 more, but the convenience is worth $20.
Well, it's just kind of a different etiquette, so to speak, because normally when you buy somebody a gift, you don't want them to know how much you spent for the gift. And with a gift card, they know how much you spent for the gift.
But again, if you purchase a gift card that's more than what they would expect you to spend on a gift, then it's a win-win situation, right?
Makes you look good.
I think so. Never thought of it that way.
Todd?
I agree.
You agree, Jed? What about you, Todd?
Yeah,
what do you think?
I hope it's okay because I think that's what we give. We give a lot of gift cards. No, I think
you give a lot of $25 gift cards. Is what you're saying? Is that because you work for the Racing Boys?
Yeah, I think that it depends on what age group of kid. When you buy them for kids, I think kids want cash. Not a certain age. Once they get in that teenage years, they don't want a gift card. They just want cash. Yeah. And I believe that you buy them a few gifts, but we buy let them have the cash.
And big kids like yourself, Todd, want guitars.
Guitars or cash. I'll go buy guitars.
I got you a guitar pick this year.
He did. It was a sweet
think
guitar.
I think with gift cards with kids, though, you still need to wrap them up because there's nothing more fun than watching a kid unwrap a gift.
No, Kirk. Now think about that. If you put a gift card in a box and the kid unwraps the box expecting to be getting something, there's a card in there, I think there's a little letdown factor right there.
I like Todd's point about how you can't buy certain things with gift cards.
Exactly.
If you're in high school.
Oh, yeah, right. Right.
It's just how
we better not go down that road.
I guess we better.
Yeah. Of course, you could get a lot with a gift card when I was a kid.
Yeah.
If they would take a gift card.
I typically like to buy kids, though, something, tangible that they can unwrap and take with them.
Mm-hmm.
For adults, gift cards, I think's okay.
Right.
But kids, I think you need to buy the gift.
Right. Kirk, I know that we're going to be talking some motorsports. We've got Bryan Hulbert's going to be joining us here in the next segment. He's the voice of the Lucas Oil ASCS National Sprint Car Tour. We're talking about the Tulsa Shootout that's going to be live on RacinBoys.com next week. You'll be able to hear it all live for $6.95. And then a little bit after that, we're going to have one of our favorite NASCAR guests, the guy that really we just kind of put it on cruise control when he joins the show. Monte Dutton of the Gaston Gazette is going to join us in our final segment of hour number 1, and then in hour number 2 we'll be on RacinBoys.com. Got all the internet issues fixed from last week, so we should have a good time. Maybe give away a couple shirts. Maybe we'll do that today as well. Maybe we can try to give away a shirt at some point today, but definitely in hour number 2 we'll give a shirt or a hat away. So don't forget, all you got to do is go to RacinBoys.com, click on TV Live, and that will take you to our live in-studio cameras. You can watch them now as we are on 810. As most people know by now, we do our show over at Racing Boys HQ, Independence. It's the old Sports Radio 810 building. So tune in and enjoy it. Hopefully have a good time.
I can't believe I'm just about a week away from my annual announcing gig. For everybody,
Kirk comes out of retirement once a year.
Everybody that listens to this show, I did PA announcing at racetracks for 30 years.
Yeah.
I quit that about a dozen years ago.
Ringo County is where it all started.
Last year, I did more races in one weekend than I'd done in 15 years.
Yeah, and you're going to do it again this year.
There were 193 races during the Tulsa Shootout last year.
And you did half of them.
Bryan did half of them, and I did half of them.
And I didn't do any.
Now, my portion was just on RacinBoys.com. Bryan was on both the PA inside the Quick Trip Center and on RacinBoys.com.
And the reason for that is because there's two guys up there calling the races over the PA, but one guy likes to take a break during the races and doesn't talk.
Silence is not good on the radio.
He says, and there's the green, and there's the white flag and checkered flag.
You gotta
That's
be
about what you get.
You got to be descriptive when people are
Dead
listening.
air doesn't paint much of a picture. So.
But I'm looking forward to it. The Tulsa Shootout, as everybody knows, we've done the Chili Bowl for many years.
It's going to be our 8th year.
But it can be argued that a lot of the racing that goes on at the Tulsa Shootout is even better than what goes on at the Chili Bowl.
Not in my eyes. I'm sorry. I can't get up for little kid the third racing another junior out there.
Well, I guess I'm talking about the the micro sprints. Those guys put on good shows.
Well, they're all micros, Kirk.
Yeah.
You probably need to get the.
Well, I'm talking the upper division.
You're talking about the 600 outlaw
the 600
minis,
outlaws,
winged.
the winged and non-winged
outlaw minis, right?
Yeah.
They're called 600 multis.
Now, I don't want to say that the overall event is better than the Chili Bowl. Chili Bowl is still the Chili Bowl. But what I'm saying is. Right. The racing is underrated at the Tulsa Shootout. For those of you that go to the Chili Bowl every year, you ought to go down to the Tulsa Shootout and check out some good racing.
Tickets are always available.
And it's nonstop. There are no breaks. They run them one right after the other.
And the schedule's a little bit different this time, too, by the way.
Yeah.
They're going to go Friday, Saturday, and Sunday because of Christmas. So we're going to leave the day after Christmas and head down there and get set up to do our
last
podcast.
year was Thursday, Friday, Saturday,
right.
which was New Year's Eve last year. This year, the end of the event will be on Sunday.
And then we'll come home on New Year's Eve.
Right.
Okay, great. Well, listen, it's going to be a good show. Monte Dutton should give us a kind of an update on what's going on in NASCAR. I really want to talk about the test that had down at Charlotte and what kind of feedback they're talking about with those cars. Who might have the advantage? We're hearing Toyota might have the advantage, so we'll talk to Monte Dutton about that. But before we do that, Bryan Hulbert He joins the Racing Boys here on Sports Radio 810 WHB when we come back.
Track Talk.
Track Talk with the Racing Boys is brought to you by McCarthy Chevrolet in Olathe, home of the $10,000 low price guarantee. Chevy runs deep.
You're listening to Track Talk with the Racing Boys, brought to you by McCarthy Chevrolet in Olathe, or visit them online at McCarthyChevyKC.com.
Welcome back to Track Talk here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. I'm Scott. He's Kirk. Jed back at 810. Got our boy Todd Surprise in here flipping the cameras. And joining us now on the show is a friend of the Racing Boys and a personal friend of mine. Travel up and down the road with him all of 2012 with the Lucas Oil ASCS National Tour. He is the voice of the National Tour. And, well, just about anything else they want to pile on top of him down there in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I'm talking about Bryan Hulbert. Bryan, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. How you guys doing?
We're doing good. Now, I understand you're getting ready to go down and see your parents. You're at the airport. You're going to be getting on a plane here in a few minutes. I want to say thanks for taking the time, and hope you enjoy going down and seeing old Honky and Kathy. Good people.
Oh, yeah, definitely, want to get down and see the family for Christmas. And if they allow me on the plane, still got to go through screening. You never know what they're going to find.
Well, and let's be fair, Bryan. Look at you. Somebody might misread you going through there. You know?
That's my point exactly. They may not like gremlins on the plane. It is early. I haven't had coffee yet.
Well, enough with the coffee. I'm not into the coffee myself. But, Bryan, listen, let's get into it. Just got a few minutes we want to talk here. We'll get into the Chili Bowl Nationals here in a moment, but right now, looks like the Tulsa Shootout, brought to you by Speedway Motors, is set to top 900 entries. Unbelievable amount of cars that we're going to see down at the Tulsa Expo Center next week.
Oh, definitely. I mean, right now, 846 pre-entered before the December 20th deadline. So, I mean, you've got a lot of guys that are going to have to wait till they get there on move-in day to check in to find out what our final numbers are going to be. But how about this? The A-Class non-wing, over 200 pre-entries. 204. I mean, that's unheard of. And, it's really, I think it says a lot about the Tulsa Shootout, and it says a lot about the level of competition that people want to come to this event, that they want to be a part of it, and they want to be able to say, I got the Golden Thriller, I won the Tulsa Shootout.
Right. And I think we're sitting right now with the Outlaw Wing 600s, 146 cars, and the non-winged Outlaws, which is another one of my favorites, 172 cars. So those two divisions got quite a few as well.
Oh, definitely. And the Outlaw Wing, that's always kind of the, I mean, they're all great divisions, but that's kind of the, the last division to run on Sunday night. That's like the, premier class of the whole thing, because it's the unrestricted, full-on, full-out micro. And, just to see that kind of competition come in on this, and to consider how many different states are represented already. Looking at the A-Class, 17 different states in that class alone.
Yeah.
And you look at the drivers that are running double duty. You look at, Blake Hahn, Matt Ward, these guys that run 4 and 5 classes every time they come to the shootout. It's incredible. And I bring up the Outlaw Wing class in particular because, like the Chili Bowl, being 55 laps now in honor of Donnie Ray Crawford, there is a good possibility that class will also have the 55-lap feature event in honor of Donnie Ray.
Yeah, what a somber Saturday last year at the Chili Bowl Nationals, and we'll touch on that here in just a moment. But when we sit here and talk about the multis, these are the drivers of the future. These are the drivers that we have to look at and say, all right, this is the future of our sport. How do they do at this level? And let's look at the progress they make. Christopher Bell comes to mind. Brady Bacon comes to mind. You talked about Blake Hahn. He's a new up-and-comer. Brendan Hahn, he's coming up. I mean, there's so many young guys that you can really look at now and say, I remember when he drove a 600, when they move up to a full-blown sprint car.
Well, you look at the guys that are competing in NASCAR right now.
Oh, yeah.
That competed at the shootout.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's incredible. Yeah, this is a great starting point for these drivers. And you look at the level of competition even 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and look at those names and where they're at now, this is for these drivers, and it's really a feather in their cap to be able to come back and compete in events like this.
Bryan Hulbert is joining us, the voice of the Tulsa Shootout, and also the 27th annual Lucas Oil Chili Bowl Midget Nationals. You know, when this event started, the Tulsa Shootout, micro mini sprint racing was just in its infancy. This thing has turned into a full-blown industry with micro sprint racing now all across the country. Just kind of talk about the growth of this type of racing. And we don't cover it a lot here on Racing Boys, but this is a huge part of the racing industry in America today.
It really is, and and Scott already said it perfectly. Where this is where the new talent's coming from. Is this style of car is coming from the micro and mini sprint ranks, and you look at where they're coming from. There's a huge contingency of drivers coming from the West Coast. There's quite a few coming from the East Coast, but it seems the further west you get in the United States, it seems like the bigger this is getting, especially along the West Coast, California, Oregon, and Washington. There's a large percentage of drivers that are competing in this class. You look at the shootout last year when you had Dunkerkin and Jacinto come in and just absolutely walk the dog on everybody. That was the West Coast. So it really has become a great growing place for these drivers to get a start and for these families to get a start in racing. And you look at people like Brock Limley, who won a Lucas Oil ASCS National Tour presented by MAV TV American Real main event earlier this year up in Montana. He competed last year in the shootout and won. So, even though they're getting up in the upper echelons of racing, they're still coming back and enjoying pretty much where they started.
How big a part has this event played in the growth of micro racing? Because they're playing on the same stage as the Chili Bowl, the biggest indoor race in the world.
It's got to be
just talk about just how much this has played into that growth.
You know what? I don't know if I'd really be qualified to answer that, only because of my limited involvement, with the shootout and the Chili Bowl at this point. But just what small amount of time I've spent around this event and looking at the amount of people that come in and compete, I would say it has a huge part to do with the growth of this, racing, this part of the racing industry.
Yeah, I believe so, too. Everybody wants to win a driller one way or the other. Bryan, it's a little different setup this year. We're going to start racing on Friday night instead of Thursday night. That's because of Christmas, 2 days after Christmas. Go through the schedule of events for next weekend, if you could.
Well, pretty much, and you pretty much said it. Because of the way Christmas falls on the calendar this year, this will be, if I remember right, this will be the first time the shootout finale has been run on a Sunday. Normally, it goes Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and everybody goes and recovers on Sunday. Well, like you said, because of the way the calendar falls, we'll go through. We're going to start moving in the day after Christmas, and then we'll have practice on that, we'll start parking on that Wednesday after Christmas. We'll have practice on Thursday, and then Friday, we'll continue that, and then we'll actually run some heat races Friday night, and then Saturday we'll continue with heat races all the way through, and then Sunday we'll go into all of our last chance qualifiers, B mains and A mains.
Boy, are you ready for all that, Bryan?
Well, last year we had 193
races.
total.
Yeah, 193.
Yeah, so this year we'll probably have closer to about 210, 215 races before it's all said and done. And it is the marathon of small car racing. And if you do want to see the full schedule, you can go to TulsaShootout.com. Again, that is TulsaShootout.com. This year's Tulsa Shootout, of course, brought to you by Speedway Motors and newly presenting sponsor is Vacuum Works Global. Of course, also bringing you the Vacuum Works Global Invitational Race of Champions that happens the Tuesday night portion of the Lucas Oil Chili Bowl Nationals.
Okay. Bryan, before we let you go quickly, we want to touch on the Chili Bowl Nationals. Can Kevin Swindell win 4 in a row? The Swindell family has dominated the last 4 years. What do you expect we're going to see?
If you spend any time around the Chili Bowl, they always talk about Chili Bowl luck. You've got to have that Chili Bowl luck. Mm-hmm. They've had that Chili Bowl luck going for a long, long time, and I have to wonder if Lady Luck's not going to divorce him this year, because if he can get 4 in a row, it's going to be unprecedented. But I don't know. I'm going to say we have a new face in victory lane this year.
And who might that be? Kyle Larson would be one name that would come to mind. Who else?
Well, You can ask Scott. I don't make predictions on who's going to win a race.
Right. Yeah. Well, you know what? It's time to see somebody get in there and at least give them a good run for their money. You know, that's what I just want to see somebody get up there. I would love somebody besides the Swindells to win, because I'm one of those believers that the same guy wins all the time. It kind of loses its luster, kind of like what we saw with Jimmy Johnson in Cup, and we've seen it over the years. Back in the day when Jeff Gordon was winning a lot of races, I think the same thing goes at every local track around the country, and it doesn't matter what event it is. You don't want to see the same guy win over and over, but would be unprecedented if he was able to win that 4th in a row. There'd be 5 in a row for the family. So, but I got to believe that the odds are against them, really, at this point.
You know, I mean, it's just really interesting, and I think one where they kind of carry an advantage sometimes is because those cars are only used at the Chili Bowl. They're not the cars that they take out and they run all year and then bring to the Chili Bowl. They're not brand new cars that they put together for the Chili Bowl. Those are the cars specifically built for the Chili Bowl. And, you know, they're tuned for that track. They're tuned for the clay. And Sammy is he's a setup wizard. He's a guru, especially when it comes to the shock packages. And, you know, that seems to be, from my observation, where he's got a great advantage. He's got the suspensions figured out. He's got the setups figured out. So, you know, we'll see if he can do that again this year. But, you know, like you said, the odds may be stacked against him on this one. And certainly we don't wish any ill upon the Swindell family. And, you know, if they can get it done, I mean, good job for them if they can get it done. It'll be interesting to see who can step up and give them a run for their money.
I agree. Bryan, one more thing before we go. Jason Johnson picks up his 3rd ASCS National Tour Championship as a driver. 14 wins over Wayne Johnson's 10. A nice battle throughout the season between those two. Jason kind of opened it up there a little bit towards the end, but fantastic year with the big schedule that we had. Ended up running 60 of the 62 events. Not bad 2012 Lucas Oil ASCS National Tour season.
No, not bad at all. And right now it's shaping up that we're going to have another 50 to 60 race schedule for 2013. Of course, we'll start things off out in the Grand Canyon state of Arizona. Look for some announcements coming here in the next month or so, possibly, about a couple of the races out there. It looks like we could have some real good fun out in Arizona. And then, of course, coming back to the Devil's Bowl to start things off there. And it looks like it's going to be another really good year. We do have a couple of new tracks stepping on. It looks like a little further east this year. So, of course, you can see the entire 2013 schedule online at ASCSRacing.com. And, of course, for the Chili Bowl, chilibowl.com. The Chili Bowl proudly brought to you by Lucas Oil Products and presented by General Tire. And, of course, the Shootout brought to you by Speedway Motors and presented by Factory Works Global.
All right, Bryan, you ready for next year? You got your wheels under you? You ready to go?
Ask me in a week.
Yeah. Okay. All right, brother.
Merry Christmas to you, Bryan.
Yeah, tell your mom and dad I said Merry Christmas. We're thanking to you, and have a safe flight down there. Thanks for being on the show. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, guys.
All right. Bryan Hulbert, the voice of the Lucas Oil ASCS National Tour, and a friend of the RacinBoys and my broadcasting partner out there with all of our National Tour broadcasts. We're going to take a break. When we come back, Monte Dutton of the Gaston Gazette joins the RacinBoys.
Track Talk.
Okay, let's choose up. I'll take Jamal and Tutal. You can have Chubbs and Skippy. Let's go. My ball.
Okay. But you got skins.
Not a good negotiator? You don't have to be a good negotiator at McCarthy Chevrolet. McCarthy guarantees the lowest prices on a new Chevy or we'll pay you $10,000. We guarantee there's no need to shop anyplace else. McCarthy Chevrolet, I-35 and Santa Fe, Olathe.
Welcome back. It's Track Talk with the RacinBoys, brought to you by McCarthy Chevrolet. I-35 in Santa Fe. Get out and check them out now. You can check them out at kccars.com. Make sure you tell Brian Schaefer and all the good folks at McCarthy Chevrolet, the RacinBoys sent you, and tell them thanks for supporting us on all the projects that we do on RacinBoys.com as well. Joining us now is a longtime friend of the RacinBoys, and we always enjoy having him on, and it's right before the holidays. A lot of guys are not wanting to work, but Monte Dutton from the Gaston Gazette says, "I'll come on, boys." Monte, how you doing, my friend?
Fine. I don't think it qualifies as work if you're not getting paid. So this is just for fun, man.
Well, that's true. Then there's that, right? Well, we'll have to work on that compensation whenever we can make a buck over here.
Oh, that's okay. I enjoy talking to you guys.
Well, we appreciate you coming on. Monty, let's get right into it. Let's talk about the test down at Charlotte, the new body. What was the feedback from the drivers down there? Just kind of give me your take. Sounds like from what I read that reviews were good.
Yeah, but reviews are always good because there's a certain public relations element to it. I think the car, I'm really excited about it. But I think that there's one thing that's kind of misleading because the week before the test late the week, NASCAR sent out a release saying that the designs have been finalized. In a way, when I read that, I thought that was odd because if everything's finalized, what would be the urgent need to test right now? And so they're still tweaking it.
Yeah.
And I think that still leaves some teams with a little bit uncertainty. But that having been said, I think that the reason they're obviously testing at Charlotte as a major priority is to have the racing better on intermediate-sized tracks.
Yeah.
And so from what you hear, I really do think that, it's pretty instructive. Dale Earnhardt Jr. was probably the most complimentary, and I think that's very understandable because, he's won 19 races. 17 of them were at the previous model before the COT.
Mm-hmm.
He only won 2 races with the model that this car is replacing. So certainly he's optimistic because he was sort of, if you look at it statistically, if you analyze the so-called car of tomorrow, the biggest casualty of it was Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Right. What now is the car? Obviously, the looks I think are a lot better. They're kind of more similar to what we see on the street. Same, Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. I mean, no way they're going to look just like the car that's on the street, but you see the similarities in them.
They're reminiscent of them.
There you go. That's a good way to put it.
They're not generic.
Yeah, right. But are the cars? I think the goal was to cause less downforce on these cars. Have they accomplished that?
Yes, I think that. Well, actually, what the drivers are all saying is that the cars are very secure. Like there's more downforce because the fact that they aren't as aerodynamically slick, perhaps, gives a little bit more downforce. But I think that one thing that looks obvious is that they tested on this because they sent the cars out with reduced horsepower. But I mean, it looks like they're going to set a lot of track records based on the speed from Charlotte.
Yeah.
And so there's some talk of taking a little horsepower away, which I really don't want because I don't want the cars to be reminiscent. I don't want the racing to be reminiscent of the Nationwide Series. Not that I don't like the Nationwide Series, but I want the cars at the top level to have a lot of horsepower because I think that puts more driving into it.
Well, you take that power away from them, and then you get on a track that carries a lot of speed. That means less passing in my eyes. Somebody told me this, and I'm not sure if it's true or not, Monty, and maybe you can answer it for me. But I heard that their goal was to tighten up the bodies, but then allow the teams to work on the mechanical grip of these cars a little bit more, to be a little more creative underneath the chassis. Is that going on?
I don't think that there's any question that is some priority. The problem is it seems like to me things always go back and forth. There's never a happy medium. I mean, you go through a period where they talk about how they want to make the cars harder to drive and they want the best drivers to come to the top. Well, if the best drivers do come to the top and a handful of guys win all the races and dominate, they start trying to make the cars more secure. And so it sort of bounces back and forth. And so I hope that this new car, once they get it straightened out, I hope that there's some stability to it. But I'm always in favor of that. I mean, I don't like them changing the formats of things every year.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, you can tell that NASCAR is very concerned because they have changed an awful lot. This is quite an investment in a brand new race car.
Right. Is this investment causing guys like Robbie Gordon not to be able to come back, and guys like James Finch? Now he's looking at drivers. I know he's got the money, but the change on the body is very expensive. Is this going to drive some of the smaller teams? Maybe is it going to put them in a corner a little bit more?
We'll just have to see. I mean, certainly these smaller teams are having a hard time putting in the investment that requires changing all this over. but I can't see yet that there is a, I mean, these are hard times, but I'm not aware of anybody that's just going up. I've always said that I've always expected when people were saying they're wondering who would drive Finch's car next year, and I was sort of expecting. I think Finch is the type of guy who I think it was quite an ordeal for him last year running full-time team. I think he likes just running the plate races and running selected races and competing. So it wouldn't surprise me if he went back to essentially what was his status before last year.
Let's see.
Monte Dutton is joining us. He's from the Gaston Gazette. We're a couple of weeks away from the championship awards banquet out at Las Vegas, Nevada, where Brad Keselowski was crowned his first championship. How will his personality change the culture of NASCAR, if at all? Just the way he presented himself at the banquet, the aftermath of him winning the championship in Homestead. How will that carry forward into next year with Brad Keselowski leading as the champion?
Will it sell tickets, too?
Well, I have high hopes. I think Brad is a really likable guy. I think I'm sure I've talked on this show before about how sharp I think he is. But there's always a period of adjustment. I think that one of the great ironies in racing is that drivers are never beloved. They never get the credit for their greatness until they aren't that great anymore. Look at how much people resented Jeff Gordon when he was winning all the time, and look how much he's respected now when he doesn't win as often. And I really think that when Dale Earnhardt's success rate didn't start winning champions, that's when the people who used to boo him came out of stopped and developed respect for him. So there will be some people, because of Brad's personality, who will resent him and think he's too full of himself. Because people tend to develop both positive and negative views to the extreme when someone is fairly new to them.
Yeah. Monty, let me ask you, we had Marty Smith on here a couple weeks ago, and he loved the tirade that Keselowski had after the whole Jeff Gordon Boyer deal. Right. Excuse me. He thought that was pretty cool. A lot of people didn't think that was so cool. Your thoughts about that?
Well, I never look down on somebody by being themselves. We get so much of where you really don't know what kind of guy somebody is because he's been, it's almost like they rehearse him like he was in a presidential debate. And so Brad is himself, and I think that what he did was, I think in some ways he may have had a little bit of an agenda he wanted to get across. But I also think that he did that because he thought it was what he wanted to do, what was right. And he showed some genuine human emotion. And I don't think it was something that his handlers concocted. So I don't have any problem with it. And I think as a general rule, the people take the most offense when they feel like they've been set a line. And so I think even if you disagree with Keselowski, and I'm telling you, if you read my email and saw my Twitter feed, I promise you that people would quibble with almost anything. As a general rule, if you like somebody, he's the only one that tells it like it is, and if you don't like him, he's a whiner.
Right.
And so that's just the way people are. But I think some people might take a while to get used to Brad, but I think he's really good for the sport.
I do too, and I was surprised that NASCAR didn't come down on him hard about that little tirade, though. It seems like...
Well, they did fine him $25,000 for a cell phone.
Yeah, but, to drop F-bombs like he wasn't going crazy like that for not just one word, I mean multiple times in that tirade that he had there, I just figured they'd come down. It's kind of like they said, the year before last it was, boys have at it, and then they've kind of reeled that back in. Now it's like, boys have at it, say whatever you want, and that's not NASCAR's MO. They usually don't let drivers do that.
The key though, about everything is that in terms of punishment, it doesn't have anything to do
on track
with as much as what you say as whether you say it on live TV.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's just a fact because FCC regulations are involved.
I see.
Big money is involved. The network could be fined. I mean, that's what that's all about.
Yeah, because it was post-race and it was a recorded atmosphere, then that's the reason they didn't come down on him. Right.
That's if you just talk about the reason 2 years ago when Dale Earnhardt Jr. got fined, it was because he said a word he wasn't supposed to on TV right after the race when he got out of his car.
Right.
I mean,
got it.
If you just look at the incidents, it's not motivated by the action on its merits. It's motivated by where it occurred and whether it was on live television.
Got it. All right, before we let you go, Monty, let's talk about the trucks going to Eldora. Big news. People have been wanting to see a NASCAR race. You know, obviously they wanted to see Cup, and there's not a venue big enough really to do that unless you put dirt back on Bristol and do it that way. I don't know. But Eldora, Tony Stewart's track, the trucks are going there. Your thoughts about that?
I think it'll be a really interesting race because I think that there'll be a vast range in ability. I mean, because there really are a lot of guys who came through the stock car ranks who didn't run dirt, who started out on pavement, latest cars, things like that. Some of them had their little flings by taking part in Tony's fundraising race up there. But I think that no matter which way you look at it, there are going to be some guys who are just absolutely dynamite, and there are going to be some guys who get in the way of the people who are that way. So, and I also think that that's also true in terms of preparation. I think it'll be interesting to see how I'm not worried when people say that those cars are not designed to run on dirt because ARCA runs on dirt, and I think that can be worked out fine. And I think that probably the guy who wins, I think that I think there's going to be some guys who really impress the heck out of you on dirt, and there's going to be some who don't.
I talked to Tony down in Indy during the trade show down there, and he said that NASCAR didn't dictate to him on the format of that race. He wasn't really sure how it was all going to be shake out yet, but they're talking about running heat races, kind of like a regular Saturday night event. Let me ask you, how is that fair to guys that set themselves up for one certain formula? And how is that going to be fair also to maybe some of the guys that might normally get a provisional, but now you've got all these one-off guys trying to come in, maybe some dirt specialists coming in to run this race? That's kind of a slippery slope on the format and everything, isn't it?
Yeah. I think that what's been described, I think it's definitely true that it's all being determined based on what they think will be a great show and really impress the fans. But in terms of fairness, I don't think it's fair at all, and it sounds like they're holding an all-star race when this is going to be a points race.
Yeah.
All of that they're talking about doing, if that was the Truck Series held their all-star race on a dirt track, which wouldn't be fair in another way, I think that would be all appropriate. But I think it is a little bit of a slippery slope.
Yeah, I agree.
Hey, Monty, I want to ask your thoughts about Carl Edwards. He did not have a good year last year. He was out of the chase and really didn't end up the season all that strong. Will we see Carl Edwards come back to the level that he was a couple of years ago, and why was Carl? We know about all the situation with Bob Osborne not being able to be his crew chief there for a while, but he didn't run well when Bob was sitting on top of the pit box early in the season. What is Carl Edwards doing now to get himself back to the high level that he was a couple of years ago, and can he get back there?
Well, I don't think there's any question that Carl is doing everything a human being can do. The biggest question may be whether that the problem might be that he maybe just needs to relax a little bit. I think he is frantic about, getting things turned back around. But on the other hand, if you look at Carl's history, he has had 3 really fine seasons, 2005, 2008, and 2011. And each year, he did poorly the following year, and then had a comeback year, and then a really good year again. And that's happened, it's happened 3 times, at least that he's fallen off a year after having a really good year. So he's due to bounce back, and Carl is a great talent and a person who is a great ambassador for the sport. And I expect Carl Edwards, his star lost some of its glimmer, but I expect it to be bright again. But, I don't know any reason that his having off years after his good years. I don't know, and he doesn't know any reason because I've talked to him about it.
Yeah.
Other than coincidence, but it certainly is quite a coincidence.
And he's frustrated. He's an ultra-competitive guy, and I know it's doubly frustrating for him not to be able to compete. I think now over 60 races without a win. Monty, final thing. Biggest surprise of the year, obviously, Brad Keselowski winning the championship, but I got to feel the second biggest surprise, Clint Boyer with a new team and a new brand, comes home second in the points.
Well, I think in some ways it'll be a little bit unfortunate because I think that it's going to be an answer to a trivia question unless Clint comes and wins the championship this year. But, I mean, the fact is that many people are going to remember this last year as a Keselowski-Johnson battle. And they'll forget that Johnson faded badly at the end and Boyer finished second. Now, on its own merits, it was a great year for Boyer. He has to steer clear a little bit of that recent knack of runner-ups having an off year the next year. But this time, I don't really think it's almost like that's not as relevant because while he did finish second, he didn't really have a realistic chance at the championship. So it's not like everyone is going to be picking him to win the title this year, although a good many people will. And I wouldn't be surprised. You just can't. He's another one of these guys who's new to the public but has a really appealing personality. As a matter of fact, if this sport has changed the guard, if you had Edwards, Keselowski, and Boyer running for a championship, you would have a potent lineup not only in skill but in terms of personality and charisma and all that stuff, all those words.
I would like to see Clint Boyer be the underdog. He thrives in those conditions, and he always has, even when he was a local driver. When he had his back up against the wall, that's when he was the most dangerous. And I like it when he plays the underdog because, again, I think that highly motivates him. Quickly, let's talk about Audacity of Dope, your book. How's it doing?
Everybody likes it. When you publish with a small publisher, and I mean, I don't have any. I'm not. It wasn't self-published or anything like that. But anyway, it's done. I get a couple people a week send me a check, and I send them one. But you can buy it from Amazon and from the publisher NeverlandPublishing.com. But the biggest thing that surprises me, I expected there'd be some people want to run me out of town on a rail, and I'm not really aware of anybody who didn't like it, who's read it.
That's great.
It's my job to get as many people to read it as possible.
And we know you're a big music guy. Are you a voice guy or X Factor?
I don't watch any of that stuff.
It's got too much glitz for you, doesn't it, Monty? Too much whistles and bells.
I'm not. The late David Poole used to say that I didn't ever like any music that anybody else liked, and if somebody I liked got popular, I'd stop liking it.
You know, I believe that about you.
I don't think that's completely true, but there is some truth to it.
But the country guy, now Tater, he won the X Factor, and he's from Kansas City here, and he's a country guy. You don't call his music country, first of all, do you?
I don't even know his music. I never watched that.
See, he didn't watch the show, so he wouldn't know.
Okay, fair enough.
I have no idea. I don't know if he sounds like Roy Acuff or Toby Keith,
Yeah, I got you. Okay,
Monty. I apologize. I don't mean to. I'm just being honest. I could try to BS my way through it, and I'm sorry because he's from Kansas City, and I hope he's really great, but I just don't know a thing about him.
If it don't twang, you're not into it. Isn't that right, Monty?
I'm in my own little music world, I reckon.
I got you. Thanks, my friend. Appreciate you coming on. Have a Merry Christmas.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Monty. And you know something? I don't know what you're talking about either because I haven't watched the show. Who's Tater?
You've got to be kidding me, right?
Nope, I've not seen it.
Todd? Tater? You know Tater, right?
I didn't watch the show, but I do know who he is.
I watched the final episode.
They were drowning him on every news channel.
Jed?
I do know he plays country.
When his music gets on the radio, then I'll probably hear him.
Don't worry, it'll be on the radio. Jed?
I have no idea what you guys are even talking
about.
I don't either.
Really? A guy wins a national television show talent contest. He's from Belton, Missouri. A $5 million recording deal. Wins it on national television. Everybody's talking about it. 3 of the 4 of us here on this show don't know what the heck's going on. What is wrong with that?
I'm a music
Tater,
guy.
I'm embarrassed for these guys here. If you're listening to Sports Radio 810, by the way, this
Tater,
morning.
if you're listening, I apologize. That's my bad.
You should.
I can't wait to hear him.
I apologize.
Just have to watch the show now.
God, that is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Well, we talked about the Chili Bowl and the Tulsa Shootout. Don't forget, Sports Radio 810 listeners, that we will be broadcasting those events live on RacinBoys.com. The Chili Bowl Nationals, which is about 2.5 weeks from now, right?
Yeah, January the 8th through the 12th.
Right. We'll be doing all 5 nights of that live on RacinBoys.com. You can hear all of it for a little price of $9.95. You can purchase that on RacinBoys.com. And then next week, you heard Bryan Hulbert talking about the Tulsa Shootout, one of the great venues that brings our up-and-coming drivers that you might see a future NASCAR driver at or a future sprint car driver at. That is the Speedway Motors Tulsa Shootout. That is next week. We will be broadcasting that as well. You can listen to it all live, all 3 nights, $6.95. Kirk Elliott will be calling half of the races along with Bryan Hulbert. Scotty Cook's going to be down there helping us out as well, doing a little pit reporting. Should be a lot of fun. I know Todd Surprise is going to the Chili Bowl for his first time, and we're going to be doing a little live video from the Chili Bowl post-race press conference in the media center. So we'll be doing that live video. That's the only part that's live video, and that will be free, by the way.
And I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, and can't wait to get to see some racing a week from this weekend.
Yeah. Well, I want to echo Kirk's thoughts there. Merry Christmas, everybody. Have a great, great Christmas with your family, and be happy. That's the most important thing. Be happy during Christmas.
And be safe.
And be safe as well. For Todd, Kirk, Jed, I'm Scott. Hour number 2 coming up on RacinBoys.com. We'll see you next week here on Sports Radio 810 WHB.